podcast while doing some millimeter wave testing. Oh, man. All right. So let's look at the topics on today's show. I'll just run it through here. I'll tell you what's going to be on the to-do list for tonight on the show. All right, so we're going to be talking Verizon future and 5G monetization plans. We actually got some information from CEO Hans Vestberg. He spoke to the future of the company and how they're going to execute the build-out of 5G, how they're going to monetize it. Also, we've got some insight from AT&T CEO John Stankey, kind of driving some things home to investors, to those that are, wanting to know what exactly is AT&T's new direction post-Discovery merger and the Time Warner spinoff. That's pretty big. Also, we have T-Mobile's CEO, Eugene, a.k.a. Sweaty Armpits, Mike Sievert. He was speaking at an investor event, the same one that AT&T was actually in Verizon. So we'll kind of do the whole roundhouse of all of it. And we'll talk about the T-Mobile home internet price change. And I'll kind of give you guys the timeline as to how this all played out and why this might be happening and what it all means. Big shout out to Big John Tech Reviews. I'll tell you guys the same thing for Big John's channel. Head over to Big John Tech Reviews, watch some of his videos, and then subscribe to his channel. Good stuff. Big time supporter of the SMT, friend of the show. Big shout out to Big John Tech Reviews. Thank you, man. Appreciate you being here and gracing your presence. All right, let's go ahead and transition here. Oh, there we are. Yeah. All right, so we got the camera on. All right, y'all. So the first story I want to cover is not even really related to any of the topics in the show. I think it's out of Nokia, actually. It's like network hardware. So I'll start there. Where did it go? Okay, it's right here. Okay. There we go. The Nokia story. All right, so here's the Nokia story. Nokia just added some new hardware to their portfolio. It's a small cell hardware addition to their repertoire that's going to be small cells for indoor and outdoor application. So a lot of you know that small cells are going to be a big piece of 5G. They currently are a big piece of networking now for most carriers. It's very big in what Verizon is doing with their networking. AT&T with their C-RAN, the small cells and the pico cells are really important. T-Mobile used to be kind of big on small cells. They've kind of sort of de-emphasized it for a while. I don't know if that's permanent, but it seems like it's been something they put on the back burner. But I think with this news, and of course they do have a contract with Nokia, it makes sense that maybe they'll kick that back up after, a year or two of full-scale macro site upgrades for N41 and N71. So, might be happening real soon. We might be seeing something on the T-Mobile side, but most definitely this is going to pertain to AT&T as well. I just don't think it's going to be a big difference maker for what, Verizon is going to be doing. Oh, nice. All right, Big John. We'll be looking forward to that content, man. We most definitely will push you into the algorithm here. I'll be posting your stuff on my community tab. I'll be tweeting your stuff. I got you, man. All right. So, in terms of the micro cells and these small cells for Nokia, what they're going to do is they're going to be offering outdoor small cells and then indoor pico cells. I mean, I always just call both of these small cells, I guess pico cells, they must be pretty small because the term pico, in my scientific application, a pico is a very, very small metric and measure unit. So it must be super tiny. It's all part of Nokia's AirScale lineup. It is going to support 3.7 gigahertz C-band applications, densely packed urban centers. You think about like cities and, around, places like New York, I think would probably get this hardware very soon. Philadelphia, Boston, these bigger markets with a lot of people in densely populated areas. LA comes to mind, Miami, stuff like that. All right. So I think also what's important to note here is the densification process and what goes on in cities. You can't put a macro cell everywhere. It's not possible. Cities don't zone it. There's no space. Like, how are you going to put a macro cell everywhere? So there is application, right? There is a place for small cells in networking. In fact, in my estimation, networks that don't do small cells very well are networks that struggle, honestly. So, it makes sense that Nokia is bringing this out. These are going to be 5G, small cells specifically, because everything up to this point, it's pretty much all been either LTE and CRAN, or it's been like millimeter wave with the CRAN. Verizon's doing CBRS with millimeter wave. AT&T has been doing LAA and millimeter wave, LTE and millimeter wave, that sort of thing. Also, I think, when you look at who is going to be a carrier that capitalizes on the Nokia hardware, I think with AT&T, this will be something that we'll probably start to see at the end of next year. I don't know if we'll see much of it early on, because most of the C-band upgrades, most of the C-band sites that are going to receive the antenna hardware, all the basebands, all the stuff we're seeing this year right now, that's all macro level. That's all going to be the monopoles, the rooftop sites, the macro sites. So I don't know when AT&T is going to do it. Don't put me on the record or anything, but let's say end of year 2022. I think that's fair. As they densify that first, 40 megahertz of C-band. Verizon's got the other 60 megahertz. But see, Verizon doesn't have a contract with Nokia. In fact, Verizon is de-emphasizing Nokia. They're basically taking out everything Nokia and either replacing it with Ericsson gear or with Samsung gear. So I don't see Nokia making a dent with Verizon in this use case. But T-Mobile's definitely something that we could see there. So AT&T's got a deal with Nokia for 5 years. I think T-Mobile's got a multiple-year deal with them as well. AT&T has contracts with Nokia as well as Ericsson. I think they might have something with Samsung. If they don't yet, they probably will very soon. I think Verizon is all out of the Nokia business, sticking with Ericsson and Samsung. So that kind of gives you an idea of who's going to be using this and where we can expect to see it. In other Nokia news, I think they also have some new millimeter wave hardware that they'll be adding to their portfolio. So along with the C-band, they also got some new millimeter wave stuff. By the way, Verizon is ripping out all millimeter wave nodes from Nokia here in the CLE. So that's all going to be Samsung, right? In terms of the millimeter wave hardware for the portfolio, 24 and 26 gigahertz radios and antennas and all of that. I don't know. To me, I think that's more the IoT stuff. The 28 gigahertz is N261. Carriers have those licenses. Also, the N260, which is 39 gigahertz, carriers have that too. Verizon's doing a lot with that band. AT&T is. T-Mobile a little bit. So Nokia's been struggling. Nokia's having a hard time financially. They've got turnover at the top level. Losing the Verizon contract is a big problem. Apparently, it's been an issue with their in-house chipsets. I mean, that's what they're blaming it on. I don't know. A lot of the engineers that I have spoken to, a lot of the engineering teams have celebrated the elimination of Nokia at Verizon. A lot of engineers on the T-Mobile side, as well as AT&T, don't speak very highly of Nokia. I don't know what it is. Big shout out to David. Thanks for that super chat, man. Appreciate you. Another one. I don't know. They've really fallen out of favor. People are just not happy with the Nokia gear. Hopefully they get that under control. They figure things out. I'd like to see Nokia become, viewed in a more positive light. They got to make better equipment. It just goes to show you that, the kings of networking, there's no guarantee it stays that way. The Nokia used to be, tops when it came to networking hardware as a vendor. And man, it's been a pretty nasty fall from grace. What's up, Keon? So, I don't know if they get all that under control. It looks like Ericsson's been eating their lunch. Ericsson's been killing Nokia. They're getting a lot of business. I mean, if it wasn't for scale, I mean, would anybody want anything other than Ericsson? But you need more vendors, right? We'll need Nokia to step their game up. And hopefully they get back into the graces of Verizon eventually, providing good hardware and software support. And, Samsung straight up took that Verizon account from Nokia. From what I understand, Samsung said, hey, we're willing to do whatever you need. We've got millimeter wave solutions, CBRS, C-band. They've got it all. So they came to Verizon. They must have told Verizon everything they needed to hear, and they got that account. And who knows? I mean, maybe Samsung gets more. Maybe they take more of AT&T's business. Maybe they take... Adrian, leave the troll. It's okay. The thing... So, and this is just a quick little thing for my my people out there. Trolls need a place to hang out too. It's okay. Let them hang out. We don't want them to feel alienated, like they have nowhere to be and nothing to do. We welcome them. We're gonna be kind to the trolls. It's okay. Yeah, Baby Yoda, you don't have to time them out. It's okay. You don't have to delete the comments. Just go ahead and leave them alone. Give them somewhere to hang out. We don't want anything to happen to them. We want to give them a safe place to be. Joshua says, I work for a telecom company. We use some Nokia for our customers. Man, is their equipment junk. It's okay, Adrian. It's no problem, bro. I don't want to see something happen to someone because they're miserable and depressed. I just say, let's give them a place to hang out and be. The trolling doesn't bother me. I'm okay with it. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in my show and my podcast, so I'm cool with it. Just leave him alone. Let him hang out. Talk to himself. It's all right. Give him a place to hang out. Good to see you guys, though. Big shout out to David. Thanks for that super chat. Barry says, hashtag be kind to the trolls. Yeah, man. Why not? Everybody's going to drag them through the mud. I say just let them hang out. So, Joshua, you chimed in. The Nokia situation's pretty bad. Hopefully they kind of step their game up and they improve. We definitely need Nokia to compete. Most definitely. All right, let's transition to the next piece of news. I think this is going to be the Verizon piece. All right, so we got a little bit of insight from CEO Hans Vestberg. All right, so Hans Vestberg was speaking at an investor conference, and he was asked questions about Verizon's future, how they were going to be doing things, the 5G monetization plan, that sort of thing. And he was quoted on many different occasions. He said, "We let others talk, we execute." Man, do I like that approach. I'm not really a loud person. I don't like, I'm not the type of person that makes a scene or, hyperbole. Everybody's got a different style, right? Like everybody's personality is a little bit different. Some people are loud. Some people are boisterous. Some people are demonstrative. Some people exaggerate. Some people lie. I mean, everybody's got a different style. Verizon's never been a loud carrier, AT&T's never been a loud carrier. T-Mobile, dating back to the John Legere era, which, just ended last year. T-Mobile's always been a loud carrier. Every company takes on a different demeanor based on their CEO, right? So John was loud. T-Mobile's loud. Their momentum, their approach has stayed that way, even with Mike Sievert, a.k.a. Eugene, sweaty armpits through the whole transition to the new leadership. So, again, Verizon's very different. Jose, my brother. What's up, Pete? As of right now, all eyes are on Hans Vestberg. There are some people internally that question the direction of the company. Investors are questioning his golden parachute. I covered that story a couple of weeks ago. There are people within Verizon who are not happy about the way things are. They've had to kind of try to keep revenues up. They haven't been growing, right? They haven't been adding that many customers. In some ways, they've been losing customers in terms of postpaid net adds. They've been adding on the agency side with Comcast and Charter. But overall, there's very little growth. So this is why these quotes were so important for us to get a handle on what the company wants to do. Anyways, he answered questions on 5G. He answered questions on content in terms of the media side and how they got rid of all that. He spoke to dividends, so the investors and the shares. He also spoke a little bit about competitors. He actually tried to avoid them. I think that's very telling. He also spoke to Verizon's direction and how they pivoted away from media. So they've kind of gone away from media, right? Like they sold all of that. They got rid of AOL. Now I think they have a small ownership stake in that new company. They sold, I think it was to, who did they sell to? It was a TPG, I think. And I forget. But they're going to focus on networking, and that's the best news we can get. As wireless customers, you don't want your provider focused on other things than networking, because you want the best possible network. So when Verizon comes out and says we're going to focus on our networking, our 5G, our fixed wireless, that's all music to your ears. Even investors should be thrilled about that. So we spoke to that. The focus on fiber, the focus on 5G, fixed wireless access, private wireless and networking, mobile edge computing. All right. All these new opportunities to create new revenue streams. And obviously, their goal has always been to get the mind share early. Get the mind share in 5G. Get the mind share in the MEC, the mobile edge computing. Get mind share in private networking, into network access as a service. One of the things that I thought was an interesting quote that the Hans stated, he said, "We will grow the top line and the bottom line. We will be unlike our competitors." I thought that was kind of interesting. I think he may have been taking shots at AT&T, because AT&T has just declared that starting next year, I think they said mid-2022, they're going to be cutting their dividend in half. So I think the current dividend percentage at AT&T is 7%. If that gets cut in half, we're looking at about a 3.5-4% dividend. I think Verizon's at like 4.5% now. So actually, in terms of telecom, they'll have the highest dividend after AT&T does that cut. So that's something to look out for, and he talked about it briefly. He was also asked specifically, how do you plan on monetizing 5G? Vestberg said, we already are. He said, we are monetizing 5G. So here are some of the things that he cited as part of it. Ultra capacity, high-speed 5G, the 5G ultra wideband, the premium pricing. Only their top-tier plan gets it. You've got to pay $10 to put it on an old plan. You've got to pay for a premium plan to have it included in your plan. He also spoke to the bundling, all the different services they have. You may see a situation where it's like they already got the Disney bundle with Disney Plus, Hulu. They have ESPN Plus. They added Discovery Plus. They're throwing in more stuff. They got the Apple Music still. Just this week or last week, they announced the Sling partnership. You can get a couple months of Sling for free. They got that deal with Dish. They just threw in Apple Arcade this week. That was either yesterday or the day before. And Google Play Plus. So now they got gaming on deck. It's just a lot of stuff. So in order to get all these things, in order to have them, you got to be on a premium plan. So that's an upsell. To give you more value, you just got to pay the premium pricing on the line access. So basically, if you've got a family account of 5 lines, you may be paying, $40 a line on an old plan, but you don't get any of that stuff. Well, if you move up to about a $55 per line access, then you get all of that, which might be worth it. That is a lot of stuff. I mean, just all that media and all that access. It's a lot. Anyways, Verizon's goal is steadfast on premium upsell. They want to take their current consumer base, which is at 21% premium unlimited. They want to push that to 50% unlimited. Hey, thanks, Hideika. I appreciate you, man. He also spoke to fixed wireless, the 5G home product, and 5G business. The goal is to get 50 million homes have Verizon 5G Home available to them by 2024. So that's 2.5, maybe 3 years. We should see a huge boost as soon as all of the C-band clears. So Block A of C-band clears at the end of this year. Blocks B and C will clear 2023. Most of that hardware will probably be up in a lot of the areas where they want to offer the fixed wireless service. So, I don't know. They're saying that they expect the 5G home internet to be $1 billion revenue stream for them. $1 billion a year. So that's $1 billion that they can generate. I mean, they're spending, shoot, what they had they spent like 40 some billion on the spectrum. They're going to spend 10 billion in the next 2 years on the hardware upgrades on the sites. I would say probably add another 5 billion or more to do the rest of the country. Gene, good to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to monetize it, that's for sure. But like he said, they already are. Anyways, 2022 is going to be a big year for Verizon 5G Home. They're already starting to advertise it now. But really, it's over the millimeter wave, so they're going to need C-band to really push the limit. He also spoke to the MEC, the Mobile Edge Computing, the Amazon partnership, the Microsoft partnership that they have. Stadiums want their business, arenas, manufacturing facilities, healthcare and hospital systems, the logistics centers, the data centers. He said all of them are coming. So basically, he's saying everybody wants Verizon services with 5G ultra wideband. I don't know. We'll see, man. I mean, they are getting a lot of contracts. They are getting a lot of those deals. So we'll see how that scales and what it looks like as time goes on. In terms of customer growth, they're really just focusing on the profitable customers, the premium customers. They're not really concerned too much about, going and digging for customers all over the place. T-Mobile's pretty much, they've got the market on customer ads. AT&T's done a complete 182. Right, they're competing for customers as well. Pretty much Verizon is just content with what they have. They actually don't care and don't mind if they had customers through Spectrum, Xfinity, and and Comcast with Charter, Comcast and Xfinity with their MVNO deals. Right, so I don't know. They're adding like 500,000 customers a quarter. So even though they're not the premium cost, Verizon's cool having them on their network and them paying the access. And then they don't have to really serve them in stores and quote unquote waste their time serving them with their needs. So, let Spectrum deal with them. Let Xfinity deal with them. We'll just sell them the service access. The TracFone deal is expected to close Q3 of this year. So that'll be a way for them to have a prepaid segment. They'll probably try to upsell them too. Maybe they'll try to sell them home internet. Maybe. So it can kind of open the door for more of those customers. There is one thing about the Hans statements from yesterday that's kind of unfortunate. When it comes to Verizon building out home internet service in terms of fiber, so we're talking about Verizon Fios and stuff like that, I don't think Verizon Fios is going into rural America. I'm sorry to report that. I'm sorry to put doom and gloom to it. It just doesn't sound like it's something they want to do. So if you have heard really good things about Verizon Fios, and a lot of people say they love it, it's got a high customer satisfaction rating. It's a fiber product, so it's super fast. In most cases, it's basically gigabit symmetrical, 1,000 megabits, and it's dependable, and it's reliable, and it's great. And Verizon has perks that go with it. The Sling TV and all of those things. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't look like they want to grow the product and expand it. Because the thing we're noticing about this version of Verizon is if they can't profit off of it large scale, they're not going to do it. So while you may not get Verizon Fios in rural America, I do think that there is some hope in their fixed wireless access. So in my opinion, it's not the end of the world. If you've been holding out for Verizon Fios, that may not happen, but the Verizon 5G fixed wireless access could become an option for you. And because it's easier for them to scale that, they'll be using IAB, they'll be using, millimeter wave and C-band as fiber and all that. So there's hope still. It's just not going to be Fios. So we'll see where that ends up, and we'll see how it scales and the timing on that. Hideika says, I still want to see T-Mobile millimeter wave appear more here in Dallas. They just don't do a lot of millimeter wave. I don't know, Adrian. As long as the 5G is wireless, there's always a chance. Just we'll see how they scale. I hear AT&T is really good in Nebraska. So maybe that's kind of what you can hold out for. Gene says, before the TracFone Verizon deal closes, will the FCC or DOJ have to approve it first? Or has that happened already? It's definitely going to have to be regulated. It's going to require approval. Just the way that Verizon is speaking and the pulse that I'm getting around the media coverage of the deal, I don't think it's going to get blocked. It doesn't feel that way, so go ahead and put me on the record. I think Verizon does get that deal done. I mean, would Hans Vestberg come out and say we expect it to close Q3 unless he felt really confident about it? I mean, there might be some concessions, but I think the deal gets done. Like, for example, some of the concessions might be the Lifeline program. Verizon has to honor it for a certain number of years to a certain number of customers or something like that. Yeah, Chucky. Good to see you, man. Sneed, what are your thoughts on N48 and our CBRS? It's going to be huge. The reason I say it's going to be huge, it's going to be a big piece of the carrier aggregation in the early onset of NR standalone. So, millimeter wave with C-band, millimeter wave with CBRS. I like that combo. And, unlicensed CBRS is great. Imagine when we start to see a licensed, right? The channel depth gets wider. We're going to be seeing, like I see 40 and 60 and 70 megahertz now. So imagine the 80 and 90, megahertz channel. It's going to be great. All right, so that's the Verizon story there. That was some of the commentary from CEO Hans Vestberg. All right, now the goal is to make the show about an hour. I've got to get through a few more stories, so let's go ahead and keep it going. All right, this is out of AT&T, speaking at the same type of investor setting. AT&T CEO John Stankey spoke on the business and investment future of the company. So we're talking about shareholders, future and current shareholders. They probably tuned in to hear him speak. I mean, everybody and their mother invests in AT&T shares because of that healthy dividend. I mean, people literally retire and just invest their funds into AT&T shares. So at the JP Morgan conference, he offered an explanation and rationale of the Warner Media merger with Discovery and how, the subsequent spinoff onto the new company. He spoke to how it was a good move for AT&T, good for their core business, good for the media side. He also said it was good for wireless. It was the best situation for them. So fresh off the heels of consecutive quarters with incredible wireless network adds, some of the best quarters we've seen in decades from them. They've got huge gross adds in wireless. They've got revenues that are high. The fiber has been doing great. They've got increased penetration, huge momentum, 35% annual growth on the product. In terms of media, HBO Max is a hit. They've already exceeded expectations. They've exceeded their 5-year goals in 2 years. So they're really happy about all that. They're about to launch their ad-supported HBO Max. I think that's going to happen first or second week of June. So be on the lookout for a discounted version of HBO Max. I think right now, I think HBO Max is like $14 or $15. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but this makes it a little bit cheaper by it being ad-supported. Anyways, in terms of the media spinoff, and this is what everybody was all ramped up about, it offers financial flexibility according to John Stankey, debt reduction, it brings cash flow to the table. They're estimated to have 20 plus billion annually in free cash flow. That'll pay dividends and offer reinvestment into the company. So making their 5G better, making their fiber better, getting those services to grow and expand and scale. Do keep in mind that the media spinoff still offers them a 71% ownership stake in the new company, in the new Warner Media Group. The Discovery synergies are estimated to bring in a total of $3 billion annual in synergies. AT&T's CapEx is about to increase, which is good news for wireless. It's going to go from $21 billion expected on the guidance to $24 billion. It is confirmed that by 2025, AT&T's fiber is estimated to be in 30 million homes. So that's pretty good. By end of 2023, their C-band pops. So how many people the C-band covers? It's going to be estimated to hit 200 million pops. That's essentially twice the pace that it was originally going to be before the Discovery merger. So instead of going for the 100 million by 2023, they're going 200 million. So that means they're going to be focusing more investment efforts and time into that. In terms of the dividends, the payments, they're obviously going to be reduced. We've already kind of spoke to this. It's going to be cut in half. So we're going to see a 7% dividend percentage pay. That's probably going to be coming down 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. That pushes it just below Verizon's dividend pay. So while that kind of sucks to the investor, it's going to make the company better, which I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year we see AT&T shares increase by a few bucks, maybe $5-10, who knows, as long as they continue with the momentum in fiber and wireless. And I think by the end of next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we see AT&T's shares creep back up into the 40s, which we haven't seen in a long time, right? They've been dipping down now into the low 30s and the 20. I think what was the lowest, like $28, $29 or something. Man, I never thought I would have been seeing that day. So something to monitor if you're an investor, but things should be getting better. Anyways, I like what AT&T is doing. You know, we've been clamoring for them to move away from, you know, the Randall Stevenson era with all that investment into media, all that greed, the focus on entertainment and TV and all that. The direct TV thing, that is terrible. You know, the media content, they should have never invested in these things. The wireless, the wireline, the fiber should have been the focus from the beginning. And the fact that Randall Stevenson wanted to do all that, it was just a huge setback. It costed him his job. He still made out like a bandit. It set back the company in a way. They're such a big company, though. They just kept on chugging, you know. But now they kind of get that realignment. Now I feel like their vision, their mission, their goal in wireless and fiber, now they're on the tracks. You know, they're on the rails. They're no longer getting derailed. They're no longer, you know, shooting back and forth, you know, these little diversions. So I'm happy. That puts more pressure on Verizon to have to execute. It puts more pressure on T-Mobile to have to execute and play their part in competing. So good stuff, honestly. Maybe there's some disgruntled investors, but overall I think it's a winner for all of us. All right, now for the T-Mobile stuff. And this is where things get interesting. Let's talk a little bit about, this is some information that came from T-Mobile CEO Eugene, a.k.a. Sweaty Armpits, a.k.a. Mike Seaver. In speaking at an investor event meeting, I think it's that same JP Morgan investor event, CEO of T-Mobile spoke about the company's direction, their mission, what they wanted to do, their goals, and other things like that. And what I want to do is I want to take his statements And I want to call them true or false. We'll take his statements, and if they're true, we'll call them true. And if they're false, we'll call them false. So here on the SMT Podcast on the channel, we call a spade a spade. If something is true, you call it like it is. If something is false, you put it out there. All right. Now, for the most part, and this has mostly been the case, AT&T, they shoot pretty straight. They've done evil things in the past. I've not always been a big fan of what they've done. They're better today than they've been in the past. So, to me, AT&T is trending up. Verizon, they're a mixed bag. They were really crappy when it came to the treatment of their customers. They were throttling firefighters. They were price gouging people with unlimited plans back in the day. Then Hans Vesper comes in. They get a little bit better. Then they start to do some more slimy stuff with the EBB program. It's all over the place, right? They're a mixed bag. T-Mobile, on the other hand, has always been a consumer advocate. They've always been willing to compete fiercely for business. John Leisure, the Uncarrier era, all of that. They're willing to compete for business. They're fierce competitors. But the thing about T-Mobile that I don't like, all the great things that they are and what they've done, is they're the most dishonest carrier. Meaning like they exaggerate a lot. They lie a lot. They don't tell the whole story. They twist the narrative. They try to control it and spin it to make themselves look better. That's just how corporate America is. It's just a painful reminder that T-Mobile is no different than any other carrier. They're loud. They're boisterous. They exaggerate. All those things. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Eugene's lying sandwich. So truth and lie. All right, so number one, this was this first statement that we'll look at. Quote, "We've caught up with the other guys on LTE." That is false. 100% false. Not only is T-Mobile's LTE network not as big as the other two LTE networks, it's also not as reliable. And for the most part, most customers are connecting to LTE. In fact, even if you are on a 5G connection on AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, most of the time it's using LTE as the anchor. So for those of you that don't know what non-standalone 5G is, most connections are non-standalone 5G. All Verizon is non-standalone 5G. All AT&T is non-standalone 5G. 95% of T-Mobile is non-standalone 5G. So it all uses LTE. Plus there is regular LTE that people are connected to. So we're talking about regular band 2, band 66, band 12, right? All that stuff. Not only is T-Mobile not have as much LTE as the other competitors, but their LTE is not even as reliable. So to say that they've caught up with the other two, that is 100% false. As much as I can call a spade and say that T-Mobile has made incredible improvements, no carrier has improved as drastically so fast as T-Mobile. I mean, in Ohio, their network was so bad 5 years ago. How far it's come along today is incredible. That's a testament to their Band 71 upgrades, and at the same time, they've done the 66 and the Band 2s and the Band 12s and all that. So calling a spade, they've improved a lot, but they are not up to Verizon, and they are not up to AT&T and LT. No way. So that's a lie. Item number 2. We're the only company that had an improved churn in quarter 1. That is wrong. T-Mobile actually had the worst churn rate in quarter 1 of 2021. They had the highest industry churn. They're actually still reporting separate churn rates. They're still reporting T-Mobile branded churn, and they're still reporting Sprint branded churn rates by itself. So again, Eugene lying, twisting the narrative, trying to spin it to make themselves look better than they actually are. So I wouldn't be judging them if they were telling the truth, but they're choosing to lie and stretch the truth and basically just make things up like people aren't going to pull the receipts out. The truth is that they're still responsible for Sprint churn. I think the bigger problem here is this. It's been a year since the merger, and T-Mobile is still reporting churn separate for Sprint. Because that tells me something really, really important. Mike Sievert and the T-Mobile executive team do not respect the Sprint customer. They know that they're liable to churn because the reason that most people had Sprint and not T-Mobile was because Sprint probably offered better coverage in their market. So there's parity between those two customers. There's a T-Mobile customer and there's a Sprint customer. Some Sprint customers have gladly become T-Mobile customers because the experience has been better for them. And Mike Sievert talked about this. He said, there's some Sprint customers who have been great, profitable, premium. We've sold them more products. It's been good for them. But there is a nice chunk of Sprint customers that are not happy about the T-Mobile migration situation and the integration of the network. Mike Sievert actually was quoted as saying, quote, "We're dragging around the Sprint churn," end quote. That's so bad on so many levels. You are implying that the Sprint customer churn rate is dragging your company down. What did you expect was going to happen? Like, you literally just bought a company that was operating in and of its own, that in some markets had a better network than yours, and in some markets had better market share than you. So that's an area where Sprint was strong. And then they're going to just easily migrate to the T-Mobile network, which may be lesser or problematic or more congested or whatever. For him to say we're still dragging the customer churn, the Sprint customer churn, horrible look, very bad. Bad use of words. I don't like it. Item number 3, quote, "We have the best network," end quote. Look, man, there may be some markets where T-Mobile has a very good network. I'm not denying that. There are some markets where they absolutely are in parity with Verizon and AT&T. But there's no way you could say nationally. There's no way you could really say regionally. I'd say from market to market it's possible. But just based on CapEx, just based on, the fact that they've been catching up in LTE and they're trying to get ahead in 5G and they've got the Sprint merger, there's just no way that they don't have the best network. They have a competitive network. It's getting there. It's getting better. And they have, in some markets, as good or close to as good as the other two. I mean, in a market where Verizon is congested, or in a market where AT&T has neglected it and hasn't gotten to, maybe the best network is T-Mobile in some markets, right? That is very possible. But to say we have the best network, it's hyperbole, it's exaggeration. But that's what he does. So possibly in a few markets, Root Metrics, third-party testing firms, they don't agree with that statement. They still don't say that. According to their data, not the case. Oh, snap. What up, Big Lou? Good to see you, man. My dude. Another thing that Eugene, a.k.a. Mike Sievert, was talking about was fixed wireless access. So he's talking about the T-Mobile home internet, which I'll talk more about soon. Hey, Deb, good to see you. Glad you could stop by. Dennis, what up, my dude? Just talking about Eugene, a.k.a. Sweaty Armpits. In talking about fixed wireless access, the T-Mobile home internet, he admitted that he believes that they have huge upside there. 100% truth. That is the one thing up until now, all these statements that I've been talking about, that's one thing that Mike Sievert is not lying about. That is one thing that T-Mobile has a big opportunity in, is T-Mobile home internet. They can make a lot of money on it, and it's going to be easy for them to operate. So wherever companies are not going, Charter, Comcast, all these cable ISPs, these fiber companies, they don't go to rural America. The return on investment is too difficult to manage. There goes T-Mobile's opportunity. Wherever they upgrade their towers, wherever they build out and add towers, go ahead and turn on 5G. and get those home internet customers going. I totally agree with Mike Sievert there. You guys know me. I don't even like that guy. But I agree. T-Mobile home internet has huge upside, especially in rural America where other carriers don't serve and where other ISPs don't serve. He spoke about cable ISPs as MVNOs. He actually admitted something. Eugene admitted he didn't see their success coming. He didn't think that Xfinity Mobile and Spectrum Mobile were going to do what they did. I think it goes to show you, and I'll admit it, I did not think that the home cable ISPs were going to succeed at MVNO. I didn't think it was going to happen. But they have been adding about 200 to 300,000 customers per quarter each. That is a 500,000 ads per quarter between those two companies. It's worked. Now, the way that they're doing it is they're basically saying to these people, hey, look, we know that you have our home internet. We know that you have TV from us. We know that you have, your home phone line or whatever else. We can also do your wireless. And we'll give you a discount. So what we can do for you is we'll sell you the Verizon service through us as an MVNO, $40 a line. That might save somebody $5 per line on their account. So we'll save you a little bit of money. We'll get you stuck with us for the home internet service and the TV. So that bundling and that savings that they'll offer you is enough to get people to go with them. So people like the streamlining of the service. They like the simplification of the bundling, the discount, saving a little money. But Mike Sievert did say they cannot sustain the competition. And I think he's right. I think it's true. I don't like Mike Sievert. I don't much care for him. I think there's 10,000 Mike Sieverts. Like, you can get a Mike Sievert off the street. You can walk into any corporate boardroom, any corporate company, and find 50 Mike Sieverts in any given meeting. But he's right about that. I don't think they're going to be able to sustain in wireless for long because they can't offer what the exclusive 5G networking is going to be 3 to 5 years from now. 2 phones for free. What is up, my guy? In terms of spectrum position, he also spoke to this. Quote, we are by far best positioned in spectrum. Verizon CEO Hans Vestberg says that they're in the best position in spectrum. I don't know. T-Mobile's got that layer cake approach, right? Low band 5G, 600 megahertz, N71. Mid band 5G, 2.5 gigahertz, N41. They do have a lot of millimeter wave licensing, but they haven't really built it out. So they got this whole layer cake approach. They continue to drive home the point that they've got the best spectrum position. They do right now. But probably in the next 6 months, the next 5 months. I mean, it's kind of happening now as Verizon and AT&T prepare for C-band. At the end of this year, the spectrum advantage is pretty much over. Every carrier will have mid-band 5G. And in fact, in some ways, by the time that C-band clears, it's kind of Verizon who's in the advantage because they have so much millimeter wave already built out too. So it's questionable. Like, what is their real advantage? All I know is as soon as C-band goes live on air, the spectrum advantage is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Verizon will have a 60 megahertz channel. T-Mobile will have 100 megahertz channels pretty much in most cases. AT&T will have 40 megahertz channels. It's going to be huge capacity booms. He said that we'll have 300 million pops in 5G with our ultra capacity, and AT&T and Verizon will just be getting their C-band licenses. So that's what he said. Lastly, he spoke to the stimulus checks. Quote, it's driving our business at T-Mobile. Not sure about the other carriers. So it looks like T-Mobile is actually seeing a return to the economy as stimulus checks are being spent. So people are buying phones, people are upgrading their devices, people are adding lines, customers are switching. They're in a switching market, they said. In an actively switching market of switchers, T-Mobile wins. That was his quote. I agree. I think if customers are leaving other carriers, T-Mobile has a good chance to gain them because they have the best value in terms of the pricing, in terms of the bill. The T-Mobile billing system allows you to save the most money. 3 lines get one free. They do free lines. So if you want to have a family account with 4 lines and you only pay for 3 of them, all right? So maybe I don't know what is 3 lines of their Magenta, like $120 or something. I don't know. 4 lines for $120. You can't beat that. It's $30 per line. Those same 4 lines on AT&T are going to probably be $140 after taxes. Because see, that's the thing. T-Mobile includes taxes and fees. Verizon will probably be $160 plus taxes and fees. So it'll be like $170, $175. So you can see how the money makes sense for customers when they switch Verizon, AT&T, these T-Mobile bills, the cost per line makes them very competitive. Not speaking to the network. I'm not speaking to the phone deal. I'm just saying, with the lines. Anyways, he wrapped up by saying, service revenues are up, customer ads are up. Quote, it's a great time to be at T-Mobile. All right, and we'll leave that topic at that. Final topic for the show. Last piece in tonight's show. T-Mobile is dropping the cost of the T-Mobile home internet pricing. So here's what's happened over the last month. 1 month ago, the T-Mobile home internet was $50 per month on autopay. They raised it. It went from $50 to $60. So what was originally $50 per month with autopay recently increased to $60 with autopay. I think $60 is too much. I don't think the $60 price point was working for them. I think that's one of the reasons why they're resorting back to the $50 price point. Unfortunately, the T-Mobile home internet product is not worth $60. At $50, it's a much better value proposition. You guys got to keep in mind, there are certain issues that the T-Mobile home internet product comes with. There's risk of you not having a good experience with it. I'm not saying that if you try T-Mobile home internet, it's not going to work for you. I'm saying that it's a well-documented situation that the T-Mobile home internet is flawed for a lot of people. And I think T-Mobile understands that. So I think they're backtracking the price increase because it wasn't working for them. I think sales probably slowed down. I think people started to probably return the product. There's a lot of things that could have happened. But me personally, I think the demand is down. I think they weren't selling it as well. And that's why they're bringing the price back from $60 to $50 with autopay. Also, I think maybe they're getting stock back. That's a possibility. They've been having supply issues for the 5G gateway. The trash can looking thing from Nokia. By the way, guys, the Nokia hardware, the gateway, is absolutely atrocious. It is horribly, horribly unreliable. It gave me trouble when I had the service. It failed. It overheated. It's been plagued by those functionality issues, disconnecting, failing, losing NR 5G connectivity, like N41 stops working, N71 stops working. They need a better solution long term. They need a better supplier, honestly. In fact, I think the LT box had less problems. For those of you with the LT home internet product from T-Mobile, I don't know. I haven't heard many bad things about the T-Mobile home internet with the white box, the LT box, but I've been hearing a lot of trouble, with the trash can Nokia gateway, the 5G gateway. It was problematic for me. I can tell you that. So along with the supply issue was the hardware issue. I think also the pricing. So there's a couple of situations there. I think, unfortunately, this is just part of the game. They tried to sell it at 60, and I think it didn't work out for them. They obviously want to monetize their 5G. They want to sell you on it, and they got to be able to monetize so that they can upgrade the network. They're going to have to spend. T-Mobile's biggest issue in competing with Verizon and AT&T has always been they can't spend like them. So they're going to have to do that. One of the issues with the T-Mobile home internet that people keep forgetting, and I really hope that they do, the T-Mobile home internet is really deprioed. Really. And I've done this at home when I had the T-Mobile home internet and I was using my T-Mobile line on my Samsung Galaxy S20. My S20 was faster, right? So it got priority over the T-Mobile home internet. And honestly, when you look at the deprio, when you look at the hardware issues, it's just $60 ain't going to do it. Even $50 is a stretch. I just saw Dennis chime in. He was saying even at 50, it's a hard sell. Comcast is giving 100 by 5 for $30. Fios 200 by 200 at 40. And that's the thing, Dennis. I mean, if somebody's got those options, then you're right. But I think this is going to be a situation where if T-Mobile's like one of your few options, at $50 it's a slam dunk. At $60 it's a stretch. It may not even be an option. What's up, Jay? Good to see you, man. As of right now, they're still advertising the T-Mobile home internet at $60 with autopay on the website. I think that'll be dropped pretty soon and adjusted. So be on the lookout for that. It's being reported on a couple of T-Mobile news sites that it will be dropping. I think a lot of people are returning the service too. It's not living up to expectations. So, I don't know. I can't personally recommend the T-Mobile home internet because of how bad my experience was. Obviously, you would have to try on your own, and if it's good in your market, if it's reliable in your market, maybe it's an option. It's definitely not an option here in the CLE. What they did to my connectivity made it atrocious, unreliable. I used to have 40 megahertz of band 41. They reduced it to 20, and then they got rid of band 41 completely, all in 2 months. I used to have a 20 megahertz band 25. They reduced it to 10. Now it's 5 megahertz. I used to have a 5 megahertz band 26. Now it's 3. They have been reducing the bandwidth on my home site for a couple of months. So the service just got slower and slower. The video was buffering. The reliability was the biggest issue. Buffering video, hours of downtime. I mean, there was one time it was out for like 20 hours. You know what, Robert, saying T-Mobile Home works as well as CenturyLink in Denver. I hear T-Mobile's good in Colorado. So no surprises there that it's worked out for you. It's just not good here. The T-Mobile network in Cleveland is just bad. I'd say over the course of the last week, I've lost signal on my T-Mobile line 6 or 7 times. Like just completely just went out. No rhyme or reason. Just disconnects. And it doesn't even matter where I'm at. One time I was at work. One time I was at home. One time I was at the gym. One time I was, in transit to work, driving across multiple cities. I don't know. It's just, it has not been good here. The whole T-Mobile Sprint merger it's a mess in the CLE. So keep all that into account. T-Mobile Home Internet is low on the priority list. Gets deprioed heavily. It's bottom of the totem pole. They've got issues with the hardware. It doesn't really compete with cable. It's more of a modest offering. Keep that in mind. If you've got a bad cable company, bad products, bad services, they treat you bad, they've stolen money from you, they're evil. If you got limited or no options, if you're waiting on Starlink, those types of things, then yeah, give T-Mobile Home Internet a shot. At $50 a month, I think it's more doable. But at 60, it's a hard sell. It really is, in my opinion. Anyways, that's all I really wanted to cover in today's show. We've been on for, an hour and 9 minutes or something like that. I do want to thank you all for coming by and watching and listening in on the podcast. I want to do some shout-outs. Obviously, for those that were here in the live, hashtag 2LiveCrew. For those watching this on DVR, hashtag Replay Gang. For my blue wrenches and those holding it down, keeping things kosher in the live chat, hashtag Mod Squad. And if you're eating dinner or snacking while watching this, hashtag Ravioli Gang. Also, hashtag SMT Patreon. If you'd like to support the SMT on Patreon and and be a part of the boosting of the channel, then you could do so. There's a link in the description for that. So if it's your first time here, welcome. Glad you could stop by and hang out with us. Go ahead and do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Become an SMT subscriber and turn on the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. And then check us out on Patreon. Again, I said earlier, there's a link in the description box for it. Got all types of exclusives and perks and ads. I do extra live streams. I do exclusive videos. There's a promo code for Los Mobile to save you money on Death Star service, so you could check that out. And that's pretty much it for the show. You guys are the best. Thank you for tuning in. It is May 26, 2021 at the time of this recording. Appreciate you guys for all that you do in supporting me. Go ahead and hit that like button. Share this to your socials. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for being a part of the SMT Nation. Appreciate you guys very much. And we will see you all on the next video. Peace.